It's here already, the UCI World Championships. And it does feel early, doesn't it? Because the event has moved a full 6 weeks in the calendar compared to last year in Wollongong.
We're on the other side of the globe too, in Glasgow, Scotland, for the first ever Super Worlds, where almost 200 rainbow jerseys are up for grabs across pretty much every discipline you can think of between 3rd and 13th of August.
Yeah, our focus here, though, will be on the men's and women's elite road races, which take place on Sunday the 6th and the 13th of August, respectively. Coming up now, then, everything you need to know about the route and the riders, plus our predictions.
Just before we go any further though, some details on our coverage of the events. There are quite a few territory restrictions for us on GCN+, but you will be able to watch live and on-demand coverage of the event if you're in Europe, excluding Norway, Denmark, Sweden and Italy.
Yeah, for those of you in the rest of Europe, you'll be able to watch pretty much every cycling discipline you can imagine, from indoor cycling to BMX, mountain biking to track, and everything in between. We will also have our pre- and post-race breakaway shows for the 2 road races.
So first up, let's dive into the route for those. The elite men will start 75 kilometres east of Glasgow in Holyrood Park, Edinburgh, heading past the castle and over the Queen's Ferry crossing.
The first climb of the day is at Carron Valley, 70 kilometres into the race, and it is likely that the day's breakaway will have gone by this point. And with over 200k still to go, we're probably not going to see that much action on these slopes. 4.4k's long at just 3% gradient.
The biggest climb of the whole day, though, comes around 20 kilometres later. Crow Road takes them up over 300 metres above sea level. It's just under 6 kilometres long at 4.4 average % gradient, but again, coming where it does, it will likely just take a bit more strength out of the legs as opposed to creating any splits at that point.
That's right. From there, they'll continue south, and about 30 kilometres later, they will reach Glasgow and take on the first of 10 finishing circuits. Each one is just over 14k's long.
Yeah, at first glance on the profile, the circuit doesn't look particularly challenging, but the further you dive into it, the more you realise how tough this circuit is going to be, particularly given the weather forecast. More on that later though, of course. Being an inner city circuit, there are plenty of corners to negotiate. I've counted 50 per lap, which means the men will negotiate a total of 500 corners just on the circuit.
My word, and it's not flat either as well. So the main climb is Montrose Street, just 200 metres long at 7%, but it starts immediately after a 90-degree right-hand bend, which will take a lot of the speed and the momentum out of the peloton.
Absolutely. Katie Archbold is the current QOM on that climb, which was set during the Commonwealth Games road race all the way back in 2014, although the climb was approached from the opposite direction that day.
Yeah, each lap has around 215 metres of climbing. So you multiply that by 10, you add in the climbs en route to Glasgow as well, and so there's a total of almost 3,700 metres of elevation gain for the men. There are a couple of longer climbs on the circuit as well, at Park District and Scott Street. Although when I say longer, just under 400 metres, 6.6% average. But they will add up.
They certainly will. Do you know what? When I first saw the profile, I thought there was a chance of a bunch sprint, but the more I look at it, the smaller I'm envisaging the group contesting the win. In fact, I think it's going to be an absolutely savage race.
Yeah, particularly over 270 kilometres in length, isn't it? Now, on to the women's race, which actually starts in Loch Lomond, northwest of Glasgow. From there, they'll head east and take on the same Crow Road climb as the men and trace the same route down towards Glasgow for the first of 6 complete laps of that 14-kilometre circuit.
Total distance of the women's race is 156 kilometres, 96 of which is on the circuit in Glasgow. For both the men and women, this is going to suit the type of rider that can absorb hundreds of accelerations throughout the day, out of corners, up climbs. I'm thinking cyclocrosses.
Yes, yeah. You got a habit of making early predictions though, Joe. So hold on to your horses for this time. We'll get on to contenders in a moment, shall we? Before that, weather watch as promised. So according to the UK Met Office, this coming Sunday is going to be 16 degrees maximum with a 30% chance of rain in the early afternoon and a 40% chance in the late afternoon.
There's an 18-kilometre northwesterly wind as well, but gusts of almost 40 kilometres per hour. If it does rain, it could be an epic day out. Think back to the World Championships in Harrogate in 2019, won of course by Mads Pedersen that day.
It's funny, isn't it? 2 World Championships on the British Isles, both of them potentially going to be wet. Like, what are the chances?
What are the chances? Who'd have
really
thought?
weird, isn't it? Now, with the women's race still over a week and a half away, we are less sure what the weather will be doing, but this is the UK, and so don't expect 25 degrees and sunshine, basically.
Right, let's dive into the contenders then. Who's at the top of your list, Si?
Well, the first rider I want to discuss is the current world champion, Remco Evenepoel. We haven't seen him race too much recently, apart from his victory at the Classic of San Sebastian, which he took in a sprint against Pello Bilbao.
Yeah.
Making it 3 wins from 3 for him there in that one.
Not bad.
So the form is clearly there, isn't it? Let's put it that way. He is perhaps the best in the world at attacking and going to the line solo. But we've also seen him develop his sprint this year. So he doesn't necessarily need to go to the line on his own again.
But he didn't ride the Tour de France.
No, but he didn't ride the Tour de France. So potentially he's won every one-day race he started this year as well, hasn't he? So, you know.
Some record.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he's got 2 teammates as well, of course. Jasper Philipsen and Wout van Aert will both be riding for Belgium too, and they'll both want to win as well, you'd imagine. That's why they're there, which will make the dynamics very, very interesting indeed. However, they play it, you have to say that Belgium are the huge favourites. Philipsen in a reduced sprint, Wout in an even more reduced sprint, or solo, and Remco as the early attacker. I mean, who can beat them?
Probably Belgium. I think they're going to defeat themselves, aren't they, potentially? It will be tough, though, in all seriousness, but the route does also suit a certain Mathieu van der Poel of the Netherlands. Now, he wasn't quite his usual dynamic self at the Tour de France, was he? Maybe it's because he's had his eyes on the World Championships all along. And like you said earlier, this course does suit cyclocrossers. Yeah. So on his day, there is nobody better than Van der Poel at this sort of course.
On his day. Olav Koy and Dylan van Baarle are the 2 other riders to watch for the Dutch. Koy is getting stronger and stronger, definitely not a pure sprinter, whilst we all know how underrated van Baarle is in one-day races, despite some of his massive wins already.
No, yeah, it's funny that, isn't it? You win Paris-Roubaix, you're still underrated.
Apparently.
But, yeah. He doesn't look quite as showy as some of the others, does he? Understated rider.
Unbelievable rider, though.
The third big team, from what I can see, is going to be Denmark.
Yeah.
Now, they've got a brilliant lineup with 2019 world champion Mads Pedersen, Kasper Asgreen and Matthias Skelmos, who is perhaps a bit of a wild card. Plus, given that their climate is not dissimilar to Scotland, you wouldn't have thought they're going to mind a little bit of bad weather.
No, they'll probably revel in it, particularly Pedersen. He absolutely loves it. The disappointment for the home fans, though, is that Tom Pidcock is not doing the road race. The reason being that he's concentrating all his efforts on the XCO event. But I think it's a real shame because this course really suits him.
Yeah. XCO is mountain biking, if you're not one of the cool kids, isn't it? Cross-country mountain biking. Now, without him, Team GB will be looking to the likes of Fred Wright and Ben Turner, as well as Ben and Connor Swift. All of them solid riders, but none of them among the Galacticos, are they really? And it's a similar story for Germany, who bring Niels Pollitt, who was looking super duper strong at the Tour de France, wasn't he?
Yeah, great form. Didn't get a stage win, but he certainly showed his legs. He'll just be hoping that his chain doesn't snap this time.
No.
Meanwhile, France have a 2-time champion, Julian Alaphilippe, in their ranks. Again, great course for him if he was in his 2021 form. But he doesn't seem to be, so I can't see him taking a 3rd world title. Perhaps, though, Christophe Laporte could be their best option. Great classics rider, fast finish, and in great form.
Yeah, would he dare to beat Wout van Aert, though?
No,
that's when the trade team versus national team thing comes.
Well, maybe they'll attack together and work together like they did at Ghent-Wevelgem and actually contest the finish this time.
Don't say Ghent-Wevelgem.
We'll see. He did it last year's Worlds, albeit for the silver medal. I love the way France have raced, though, since Tommy Vauclair took over as manager. Really aggressive tactics. They'll certainly have a clear plan from the off to attack.
They will indeed. Now, the one man with more rainbow jerseys than Alaphilippe is racing for Slovakia, and that's going to be Peter Sagan. And it's going to be his final road Worlds, but it seems unlikely, highly unlikely that he'll be able to take a 4th title, doesn't it? Australia is another team that always look good for the Worlds. Michael Matthews picked up a bronze last year and is going to be hoping for better this time around. Caleb Ewan is also here, but I don't know, I would have thought the race is a bit too hard for him, maybe.
I would think so.
I don't know. He loves a kermesse, doesn't he?
He does. He does. I think Matthews their main option, though, probably.
Both of them grew up on crits, though, didn't they? It's like a one giant 270k crit.
Well, we'll see. But another option for them.
Stealth move.
another option for them, Caden Groves. He's in pretty good form as well. Won a stage at the Giro earlier this year and could be the type of sprinter who could survive the circuit. Maybe a bit of a dark horse, perhaps. Other riders to look out for include Matteo Trentin of Italy, silver medalist in Harrogate in 2019, remember. Plus, Neilson Paulus of the USA, always a dark horse in the classic one-day races.
Now, Spain aren't quite the force that they used to be, but they have Aramburu and Lazcano, strong riders. But strong riders who'd be delighted with a medal, wouldn't they, of any colour.
Yeah.
Now, Slovenia is an interesting one, mainly because of who isn't there. Roglic, he is concentrating on La Vuelta, and also Mohoric is absent as well.
Which seems really strange, doesn't it? No idea why he's not racing. He was flying at the Tour, and now he's flying in Poland. Anyway, they've got a rider called Tadej Pogacar. He won't mind some grotty conditions either.
No, he won't. He beat the Col de la Madone Strava KOM last week as well. So he's come out of the Tour in fairly good condition.
Yeah.
If he were to win, he would be the first rider to have won both the Tour and the Worlds since Cadel Evans. Interesting.
Interesting indeed. A couple more names to watch out for. Stefan Kung and Mark Hershey of Switzerland. Rasmus Tiller of Norway could stand a chance. Ben Healy of Ireland and Derek G of Canada. Right, predictions time.
Whoa, not yet. We'll do them all at the end. Right, let's discuss the women's favourites first. And yellow jersey winner Demi Vollering has to be among the favourites, doesn't it? She was in scintillating form at the Tour, of course, taking overall victory there by more than 3 minutes.
For sure, and like the Belgians in the men's race, their team is incredibly strong. Lorena Wiebes is there in case of a sprint, and she won't be afraid of the course either. Her climbing has really come on leaps and bounds so far this year. And we haven't even mentioned Marianne Vos yet either.
No, we haven't. And let's not forget about Annemiek van Vleuten as well, which means Van Vleuten and Vollering will be in the same team. And we know they're not the best of friends.
No.
So how will the team dynamics work? Could that be their downfall? Dare I say their downfall again?
Well, of course, it has been in the past, and Lotte Kopecky will certainly be hoping so. Incredibly, she finished second at the Tour de France Femmes avec Zwift, so there's no doubt that her shape is currently incredible. I think this course is probably tailored for her as well.
Yeah, she is more of an out-and-out leader in her team, isn't she? So her problem might simply be covering the moves, but she's my favourite, nevertheless.
Hey, you're not supposed to predict anything yet.
Yeah, sorry, I've jumped the gun. Right, Chloe Dygert of the USA, she's another favourite. She's finally got back towards her very best. In fact, it's been a bit of a breakout year for her in Europe after that horrific crash she had in the World Championship time trial in 2020.
If she pulled it off, she would be the first ever women's elite road race winner from the USA, believe it or not.
Oh, that has surprised me.
Yeah, I know, some record. Emma Norsgaard is another rider who showed good form at the Tour de France. She'll lead Denmark along with Uttrup Ludwig, whilst Pfeiffer Georgi and Lizzie Deignan will lead Great Britain.
Yeah, Kasia Doma is there representing Poland, and there's no doubt that she will be up there. But it is over 4 years now, unbelievably, since she won a race. Leanne Lippert of Germany took her first World Tour win in 4 years as well, actually, at the Tour de France. So she will come in with confidence, while France will have a well-rounded squad, but without any five-star names.
Yeah, the same could be said, I think, for New Zealand and Australia to a degree, but they both have such strength in depth that they should be in the finale fighting for the medals, I reckon.
Elise Chabet, she's going to have no problem dealing with all the corners.
No.
In fact, she'll probably drop the peloton on each and every one. And her teammate, Marlon Rousseau's main focus will surely be the time trial. But I'd say she's got a decent chance in the road race as well. Perhaps slightly too many accelerations for her, but if she gets a gap, we'll see.
We'll see. It'd be tough to bring her back for sure. And talking of the time trials, they take place on Thursday, 6th August for the women and Friday, 7th for the men. Both start and finish in Stirling with 36 kilometres and 48 kilometres, the respective distances.
Yeah, Rosa, Vollering and Brown will start as favourites on the women's side. Venerpool, Ganna, Kung, Van Aert and Cavagna on the men's side.
What about 19-year-old Josh Tarling, though, as an outsider, maybe?
Well, yeah, that would be something to see, wouldn't it? He would be very happy with a medal, I would have thought, of any colour. And yeah, you've got to take into consideration 19 as a... That's pretty young, isn't it?
He's reigning junior champion, though, isn't he? Junior world champion.
Exactly, right. Okay, I feel like I can let you off the leash now, Joe, for your predictions.
Road and time trials?
Road
the full
and
lot?
time trials, yeah, go for it.
Well, I think Marlon Rousseau for the women's time trial. I think she'll be very difficult to beat. And I think in the women's road race, I'll go for Kopecky. I think maybe Netherlands will screw themselves over again. And for the men's, it's hard to look past Remco. And I'm talking about the time trial and the road race. I just think he was so difficult to bring back in Australia last year. And the course suits him. He's descending, his technical ability's improved. He can sprint now as well. I think he's the man to beat in both races.
Okay, now we're in a slightly difficult situation here because I agree with you on all of those. However, I'm gonna throw some different ones into the mix then. So men's road race, I'm gonna go with my heart, Mathieu van der Poel.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that. I think he was holding something back during the Tour.
Could well have been.
I think it was a giant training camp. And in the TT, I think Stefan Kung. It's going to be his day finally, yeah. And then in the women's, it's hard to see past Rosa, isn't it? But I'll go with Vollering. And then in the road race, I'm going to go Vibes. I think the Dutch will be able to hold it together with a plan.
I think she's perhaps the Dutch's best chance. And
I think they know that as well.
Yeah.
I think for once they could lay all of their individual ambitions to one side.
But that'll be interesting to see. Are they able to do that? The big question.
I don't know. Right. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. Let us know who your predictions are as well.
Absolutely.
Get involved in the comment section down below. We will be tuning in for as much of the coverage as we can for 11 days of the Championships in Glasgow. That I think is going to be absolutely fantastic. We're probably not going to get much work done, are we, really?
No, I don't think so. Particularly for the indoor events, given the weather. No,
Yes,
I'm joking.
right.
It's going to be fantastic, and it will lead us nicely towards La Vuelta a España, of course. It's all go in the cycling world.
It is indeed. Anyway, I'm not going to attempt a Scottish accent, Hincher. I think that would be...
You sure?
Yeah, so we'll just say goodbye for now.
See you later.